What's up? Good morning, everyone. I am actually cracking up. Y'all, Reverend Derrick Holmes is in the green room jamming. Can I tell y'all he's jamming? Anyway, I see you, Adrian. Good morning to you. Y'all, welcome back. This is our day 2 of being back. Adrian, Marion Jackson, good morning to you. Dr. Antoinette, what's up, sister? Shardinia, good morning to you. Y'all, we have a great show for you today. I'm so glad that you are tuning in. We had a great time yesterday, did we not? On our return back, y'all. Today is Wednesday. It is Wednesday, September. I don't know what date it is. It's September the 4th. I see you, Rosanna Bivens. I see you, Pastor Alex Williams. Good morning to you. It is September the 4th. I am your host. What's up, Davia? I am your host, Gail Dudley. Welcome everyone who's tuning in from LinkedIn to YouTube. We really do appreciate you and all of you on the audio podcast as well. I am so grateful to the love that you all shared to Isaiah on yesterday. Again, if you're looking for Isaiah, we want to say thank you to him. Isaiah, the freelancer. His work schedule and additional freelance work he has acquired pretty much has taken him away from News in Motion. It was a struggle for him. I said, dude, you better go on and soar and fly. I understand. So we just want to give him a big shout out. With that, if you know of any person, we're going to change our focus in that role to work those boards and broadcasting. We're going to change that role to intern. So if you have any intern, young person you know that's looking for some credit hours or something to grow and to learn, and someone that we can mentor, please have them send us an email and we will be sure to reach out to them as soon as possible. Listen, y'all, we have a great guest that's hanging out with us today, Reverend Derrick Holmes. He's going to be talking about getting out to vote. He is already in the green room. I told y'all he was in there partying. And then tomorrow, you don't want to miss it, y'all. Tomorrow, protecting our mental health during this election cycle, we will have Davia Williams Stevenson with us. She is a professional clinical counselor, life coach, podcaster, and author. Y'all, yes, she is the author of this amazing new book that I want all of you to go to Amazon and get your copy. It is called A Month of Sundays, Elevating Self-Care to Soul Care. You want to get this book, and we'll have more about that tomorrow when we interview her. And some of you were asking, what is Everbloom? So let me go ahead and tell you just a little bit. It is still unfolding. It's another petal that is unfolding. You know, all of you, I believe, know me already, that as a firm believer, that to truly bloom, we must invest in ourselves. Now, y'all, sometimes it takes a spark of inspiration to create the space we need to grow. It's important to be grounded, planted, have our soil turned, be watered, and at certain seasons be pruned. Y'all, it is still unfolding, but in its unfolding, I can give you the first thing that we're going to be doing, which is going to take place on Sunday, September the 15th. You all know that I am into investments and stocks and understanding that. And as a community, I believe that we should all at least know a little something about that. So if you want to join us on that date, it is one thing that we're doing. And it is something that you would have to invest in to be a part of. We have it in the slot there. It is called Her Trading is Profitable. And so you want to check that out. It's about the foundations. So if that's something you're interested in joining us in, make sure you do that. I see you, Deborah Johnson. I see you, Lori. What's up, y'all? Regina, Jackie, Yvonne. I see my brother popping in here too. Good morning to you as well. But it's still unfolding. It's all about blooming. Hang out with us and you'll learn more about that as well. All right, y'all, in the news. I don't get it. Y'all, the news that was popping this weekend going into this morning, I was like, what is wrong with people? Y'all, Hochul's former aide is arrested for allegedly laundering millions from China. Yeah, Linda Sun, a former top aide to the New York governor, current governor Kathy Hochul, and former governor Andrew Cuomo, was arrested yesterday and charged with acting as an agent for the Chinese government. Yeah, that's happening. Per the indictment, Linda Sun secretly engaged in numerous political activities on behalf of China while working as a deputy chief of staff. Yeah, that happened, y'all. So that's happening. But y'all, listen, out of money. Now, I'm telling y'all, I'm watching things saying, is this for real? What's really happening here? And how is this happening? I see you, Kim Edmondson. Yes, girls, hump day. Y'all, The Guardian is reporting. I want y'all to follow this story. And just stay off of TikTok. It's to really tune in, laugh, or to upload a reel, but it's not to follow what people are doing. No. Y'all, TikTok creators assumed they outsmarted the largest bank in the country. That's JP Morgan Chase. But it turns out that they was just really it was a stealing scheme. This is not Hangover, y'all. This is not the Hangover movie. You don't have that. This is real life. So, y'all, this weekend, a glitch allowed people to deposit bad checks into Chase's ATMs for all kinds of money. Yeah. To have a credit appear in their account, and then they withdrew some of it before the bank caught the mistake. But they were doing it through their own accounts. So they were able to be tracked, and now they got to pay that money back. It's like, what are y'all doing? And there were different bankers going on TikTok saying, don't y'all do that. Don't y'all do that. Y'all, this is fraud. You're going to go to jail. You can't do this. So, y'all, that was a scheme that's unfolding. Some people think they can still outsmart people. It's like, just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. Y'all, I'm so glad to be back to talk about some of these things, because I look at things, I'm like, what is going on? Y'all, in health news, there are about 35 million cases. There were about 35 million cases of flu nationwide last season. About 400,000 people were hospitalized with flu infection, and about 25,000 people died with the flu. This is last year, 2023. Medical experts told the New York Times that most people should get vaccinated between mid-September and late October, which means that's coming up. The CDC recommends getting your shot by the end of October at the latest. Now, in a quote, generally speaking from the CDC, your immunity peaks a week or two after a flu shot. So you still got some time in between there before immunity jumps in. Even after it peaks, protection lasts for about 5 to 6 months. Now, they're saying it's typically enough to protect you to get you through this flu season, which tends to begin in October and ends about late March, early April. Now, you do what you want to, but get this piece. They've added this piece to all of this. They're saying that the standard flu shot this year could play an important role in protecting you against the bird flu, which they believe will be at crazy numbers this year. So you do what you want to. I'm just delivering the news. You do what you want to. People are already asking, what's up, Dr. Antoinette? People are already asking me, am I getting the COVID shot? Because the COVID shot's coming out. I don't know. Last year, I did both the flu shot, and then 21 days later, because I'm crazy like that, I listened to Dr. Fauci, I did the COVID shot. And then in December, if y'all remember, I was sick as a dog for almost a month and a half. So I'm not sure if that had anything to do with it or not, but I'm a little shy about doing that. Let me know in the chat what you are going to do when it comes to the flu shot or COVID shot, if you think that's necessary or not. What's up, Virgie from Virginia? What's happening, sister? All right, y'all, gun rights. There is a new group. I guess the NRA said, we getting beat down, let's start a new group. So according to Axios, y'all, it's filling a vacuum left from the NRA, the longtime premier gun rights group, which cuts its political spending from $54 million in 2016 to about $29 million in 2020, just before declaring bankruptcy, as we know that happened earlier this year. Well, this new group is called Secure Our Freedom Alliance. They're not looking to compete with any firearm groups, but they want to fill what they believe is an urgent need to address gun owners this election cycle. So, y'all, they're focusing on the millions of Americans who purchased guns during and after the COVID pandemic. Y'all, by several estimates, That is about 22 million new gun owners, which equals the population of Florida. Again, that's coming straight out of Axios. All right, y'all. Yesterday we started talking about Project 2025. I want to slip in and give you something else before we bring Reverend Holmes on. But as stated during our return on yesterday, we're going to be bringing you different pieces of Project 2025. It's been in our e-newsletter for months. We talked about it last year, and y'all all thought I was crazy, like I was in this conspiracy and making up stuff. Y'all weren't ready for it, but now you are, so I'm going to give it to you. Some of you will read it, some of you will not, so I'm going to give it to you as much as I can. But we do encourage you to read this for yourself. But in the meantime, we're going to cover just a portion of it. So today, I want to talk a little bit about the Department of Education, written by Lindsay M. Burke. Now, y'all should really Google that name to give you a greater perspective of what I'm talking about. So y'all, from page 319 is where I'm going to go. In this area, this section covers from pages 319 to 362. That's a total of 43 detailed pages for the Department of Education in the 922 page document. I ain't giving you all that. So let me get to the page I need to get to. It's going to take me a minute to scroll there. But listen, y'all really want to check this out because I'm going to share something with y'all, and I'm getting there. Hold on a second. I want y'all to really check this out because it's going to blow you away. Now, the first line under mission says, federal education policy should be limited, and ultimately, the federal Department of Education should be eliminated. Let that sink in. So they're coming out letting you know right away what they're about to do with it if they get in office and take over. Let me stop. Go back. Kim Edmondson said, never had the flu shot. I'm not planning to get any more vaccinations. I hear you, sister. And Yvonne Gardner says, I do my shots based on my doctor's recommendation. And then Dr. Antoinette, here you go. Because people are telling me I need to get this, but I haven't yet. The second shingle shot was rough. I don't know what's in the second that wasn't in the first, but it knocked me out for about a day. And then Dr. Antoinette's talking about the education. Thankful for the education on these issues. Listen, y'all, they go on to say when power is exercised, it should empower students and families, not government, which, okay, that sounds pretty good. Then they talk about the society and families and students should be free to choose from a diverse set of school options and learning environment. I agree with that, but let's just go down a little bit further on that page. Elementary and secondary education policy should follow the path outlined by Milton Friedman in 1955. Now, y'all stop right there. And this is why I'm sharing this with all of you. When you see Milton Friedman in 1955, automatically Google is your friend. You should go Google, well, who is Milton Friedman in 1955? And what did he outline when it comes to elementary and secondary education? Okay, that's where you need to go. And it goes on to say here, wherein education is publicly funded, but education decisions are made by families. So you're reading and you're like, oh, okay, cool. But what families? We have to learn how to ask questions when we're reading things so that we have a better understanding of what's going on. And then it goes on to say, ultimately, every parent should have the option to direct his or her child's share of education funding through an education savings account. That's the ESA. I'm like, okay, let me keep reading. It says states are eager to lead in K through 12 education. For decades, they have acted independently of the federal government to pioneer a variety of constructive reforms and school choice programs. Okay, that's good. For example, in 2011, they talk about Arizona first piloted ESAs, which provided families roughly 90% of what the state would have spent on that child in the public school to be used instead on education options such as private school tuition, online courses, and tutoring. So wait a minute. So you're going to give money to the private schools? for that student if they have a savings account? Help me understand. So you ask questions, you're asking questions, you're asking questions. So it gives an overview. It talks about what they're going to cut, but then they get into as the next administration executes its work. This is on page 322. It should be guided by a few core principles. Now, I'm not going to go through each principle in detail, but I'm going to at least give you the outline of it. Advancing education freedom. What does that mean? Y'all need to read it for yourselves. Providing education choice for federal children. Well, what's federal children? What is that? Is there a separation here somewhere? Restoring state and local control over education funding. Restoring state and local control. Earlier, I thought you said you wanted to eliminate that. These are the questions you have to ask. You have to read. You have to take notes to get an understanding. And y'all, why this is important? Because this is what we're voting on November the 5th. Treating taxpayers like investors in federal student aid. What? Protecting the federal student loan portfolio from predatory politicians. What's a predatory politician? Safeguarding civil rights. That one was very intriguing to me, so I needed to read it, so I'm going to read it to you all. Enforcement of civil rights should be based on a proper understanding of those laws. Rejecting gender ideology and critical race theory. Y'all better pay attention to this. Stopping executive overreach. That means they don't want any money coming back to anybody else. So then I wanted to give y'all these real quick, and then I'm going to move on. Restore revenue responsibility for Title I funding to the state over a 10-year period. Eliminate impact aid not tied to students. Move student-driven impact aid programs to the Department of Defense. What? Or the Department of Interior Bureau of Indian Education. Transfer all Indian education programs to the Bureau of Indian Education. So then that made me think, why are y'all targeting or why are y'all focused on Indian education? Help me understand what this is. Y'all need to read this for yourself. The DC Opportunity Scholarship Program, which provides vouchers to low-income children living in the nation's capital, appropriate as DC is under the jurisdiction of Congress. I still don't know what that means or what they said there. And I've been digging and I can't find an answer to that at all. Then all programs in OESC should be block granted or eliminated. So you're just going to go through and just eliminate stuff? Help me understand this here. Transfer the Office of Career, Technical, or Adult Education's few programs to the Department of Labor, but move the tribal control post-secondary career and technical educations to the Bureau of Indian Education. So, this is very interesting. So, y'all, you want to read, this is a lot of stuff in here. Transfer the vocational rehabilitation grants, phase out earmarks for a variety of special institutions as originally envisioned. The next administration should work with Congress to eliminate or move OPE programs to ETA at the Department of Labor. Funding the institution should be block granted and narrowed to historically Black colleges and universities and tribal controlled colleges. Pay attention to what's happening. I believe it's in Florida, and there's another HBCU that's being kind of like controlled. They got rid of the board. They brought in their own person from the state, and they're controlling. Y'all need to pay attention because it's in here. What I read in here is exactly what's happening right now with the HBCUs. They all go on to talk about federal student aid. The next administration should completely reverse the student loan federalization of 2010 and work with Congress to spin off the FSA and its students loan obligation to a new government corporation with professional governance and management. They talk about the long term. They're talking about the Office of Civil Rights. They're talking about attorneys and accountants and experts and specialists. They're talking about current laws, y'all. Y'all, again, there's 43 pages of this. And you have to dig deep. You have to go into it to get a better understanding of what's happening. And then on the first day in office, The next administration should signal its intent to enter the rulemaking process to restore the Trump administration's title regulation and the additional insistence that sex is properly understood as a fixed biological fact. Official notice and comment should be posted immediately. Yeah, read this. Y'all, I don't want y'all to miss any of this that's in here. And I'm already up to page 335. There's so much in here. If nothing more, if you have school loans or students or children in school, or you are a part of the Department of Education, or you are in some sort of role as a principal, staff, teacher, vice principal, aide, whatever, you want to read this before you vote. I'm trying to get to this one page so y'all can all get an understanding of what I'm talking about. They are saying here, I'm trying to get there, page 362, I think is where I need to go. There has to be another way of me doing this. But page 362, they talk about all the cuts. All right, here we go. Eliminate the PLUS loan program. In time-based and occupation-based student loan forgiveness. Eliminate Gear Up personnel. The Department of Education currently employs approximately 4,400 individuals. As programs are eliminated or transferred to other agencies, so are the employees. Thought I'd let you know that. Y'all, we have to pay attention to this. This is not a joke. This is not something that's just happening. This is this is their playbook. So I read to you, and again, good morning, Judy Neal. Good morning. Jackie said, oh, well, we're still on the shots here. Dr. Internet said the whole Elementary and Secondary Education Act stuff is deep. Listen, it's really deep. So I just gave y'all a highlight that should really draw you to read what's in this document. Y'all, this is real. I took this from their website. You want to read it from their website. So tomorrow I'll give you another quick piece of it. It will be in the Friday rundown. We've shared it many times before. Just go through, and it's real easy. You click on the topic you want to read, and it'll take you right there to those pages. But there's multiple pages under one fracture. Remember, there's 4 pillars that I shared with you all yesterday, and that was just a piece of the first pillar. The Department of Education. All right, today we're going to also give out voter information before I bring on Reverend Holmes, starting with Alabama, Alaska, American Samoa, Arizona, and Arkansas. And this is coming straight from ballotpedia.org. Hopefully it'll open, and it did. All right, y'all. Alabama, your last day to register to vote is October 21st. Alaska, your last day to register to vote for the general election is October the 6th. Arizona, your last day to register to vote is October the 7th. Arkansas, you can vote at the time of, you can register and vote at the same time. So that's Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas. Again, Alabama, October 21st, Alaska, October the 6th, Arizona, October the 7th, and Arkansas, you can do both at the same time. With that, we got to talk about getting out to vote. So again, all this voting stuff, you want to be with us, hang out with us tomorrow when we will have Davia on with us. Davia will be joining us tomorrow, so you want to come and check that out. But with that, I want to talk about Reverend Derrick Holmes, who's now the senior pastor of Union Grove Baptist Church. He does a lot with the White House. Yes, he does. He does a lot with the White House. Yes, he does. He has conversations with current Vice President Kamala Harris. Hopefully will soon be Madam President in just a little, I think it's 61 days now. And we're just going to talk about getting out to vote and what that looks like. So good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning. Peace. What's going on? So good to see you again.
It's all about you. It's all about you. It's all about you.
I wish.
You're one of our political strategists, and I thought upon our return, we must hear from you.
Sure.
Yesterday was just a hello, catch up, giving people the rundown of what happened over the summer. But let's talk about getting out to vote. You just heard me talk about Project 2025. We talked about that in the green room before the show started. Yeah. And there's so much going on. There's so much confusion. Can you just begin talking to us today about where do we begin? What do we need to do? Where do we need to focus? And how do we do this? I know I'm asking you a lot in a short period of time, but can we just jump in? Like, what is Get Out to Vote?
Sure. Well, first, again, I always appreciate being able to share here. I think the world of News in Motion. I think the world of you. And to everybody that's in the chat and the threads, just good to see you all again. Let me offer just some context to what we're talking about. That when you're talking about Project 2025 and we're talking about the vote, there are only two mediums in the United States, two mediums in the United States that are actually walking through Project 2025 and making it adjustable. The first one is Joy Reid over at MSNBC.
Yes,
and the other one is Gail Dudley with News in Motion. I just want to be very clear, because sometimes we don't appreciate stuff when it's right in front of us. Of all the media outlets in America, in the English-speaking North Americas, there are only two media outlets that are walking through Project 2025 before the election. The one is Joy Reid, and the other one is Gail Dudley. Take that with you on your way home. So
thank you. And I like what Kim Edmondson said. She says, "We're not going back.
We're not going back." Listen, and I'm totally going to touch on that in a second, because I think she's right, and I think that's the energy we need to have when we're talking about getting out the vote. I love that you framed it around how should we be thinking about this. Consider the context that we're in the longest election cycle, election season in the history of American politics, right? Part of the reason why is because we don't have any legislation that tells you that it has to be shorter. So 45 can go ahead and say, I'm running for the presidency 2 years before he even gets the nomination from the party, right? And so that just extends it crazy long. Part of the reason why we have to think about it that way is because by virtue of that, when we get to the polls, they're banking on a level of fatigue. And because of that fatigue, then there are things that we normally would do that we end up not doing. And one of those is making sure that we're armed with information. There's a reason why Project 2025 is 900 some odd pages, because they believe that we're not going to read through that. Nah, we read. In fact, someone should hashtag that. Hashtag nah, we read, right?
Nah, we read.
You can't sit and hide important information or hide your agenda in something because you don't think that we read. This is not the 60s, this is not the 50s, where that type of rhetoric can be acceptable to your base. No, in real life, Black people read, and we are intelligent and astute enough to adjudicate between what's passively racist, what's dog whistle racism, and the things that actually matter and germane to our community. So I think the first part when we're talking about getting out the vote is empowering people with information, right? We have to be clear about it, and we have to believe what it is that we're reading. Listen, we are in a moment where I think we have to begin to trust our sense as people who have been on the downside of advantage under this empire. Listen, when that missive is talking about public schooling, we should be very clear that they're talking about Black and brown and poor white folk. We should be very clear about that. When they're talking about public schooling and the eradication of schooling and considering private school in a certain type of way, we should be very clear about what they're talking about, how they're doubling down on capitalist discourse, how they're really trying to get rid of that growing middle class. By the way, that middle class that is growing in part because of the VP that's in office right now. Neither here nor there. I think we equip ourselves with information, right? And I think that's the first part of getting the vote out. And the second part is changing our rhetoric. I think that there's an opportunity for us to change the way that we're talking about it. Think on this with me. You and I are both from a generation where it made sense and we heard ad nauseum that you should go vote because your ancestors did it. There were people who fought and bled and died and sacrificed just so you would have the right to vote. And because we were closer to that generation, it resonated with us very deeply. For some of us, those were our grandparents. For For some of us, those were, our older parents, right? And so it stuck with us. We're about 3 generations removed from that. And there's a generation that's eligible to vote that just doesn't have that nostalgia or that emotional connection. And because of the realities of politics on both sides of the aisle, there's a level of dispassion too. So if someone died for my right to choose, then I have a right to choose. So you can't approach them and try to get out the vote and try to mobilize younger voters by saying it that way. What we do have to do, and what we found that's worked, is that we have to talk about what's at stake. If you don't vote, then Project 2025 is coming to pass. Be clear, Project 2025 didn't just come around. In fact, when 45 got into office, he was actually mobilizing a lot of this. And this is one of the reasons why I fool with Uncle Joe, because when he got in the office, the first thing he did was sign an executive order to undo all of this foolishness that 45 tried to put in play, right? So we have to talk about what's at stake, even as he's trying to back up from it, right? Because he's saying, I'm not really gonna do that. Nah, we don't believe you. You need more people, right?
It's in 922 pages, and you heard me read his name from the quote in the pages.
Yeah. we should just trust our instinct around this. Nah, you're going to do that, right? And just think about the time that we're in. And I mean this very seriously, because I was thinking about this on the way here. Think about the energy going into this election before President Biden drops out and then puts his name behind Kamala. The truth, Vice President Harris. Here's the truth. We knew we had to vote, but we weren't really in love with who we felt like we had to vote for.
Listen, I was voting if he was on a ventilator.
Right. But what that represents is the lowest sense of democracy, right? Democracy isn't voting against something, right? So we're voting to keep something out. I'm voting against something. No, democracy is when you're voting for something. And because Black people in this country and brown people in this country and poor white people in this country are considered a captured electorate, in that the belief is we're just going to vote to the left side of a thing no matter what. So we have to do very little to speak to them, right? I think the dispassion of that is the proof that we're not a captured electorate. No, give us something to vote for. No, give us something that we can get behind. Give us something that we can hold accountable. Give us something that pushes us in the direction that we want to go in. And think about the energy now. Can I tell you, I can't wait. We do debate watch parties at our church. So we're going to have a whole thing where we watch online and we watch together. And then just like this, we sit in the chat and we talk about, oh, that's the truth. Oh, no, that was a lie. Can I tell you, I cannot wait to watch this debate next week.
Now, before you go on, if I can pause, because how can this viewership follow that watch party? Is there a link or something we can give everyone?
There will be a link. I will shoot you the link later today, and then you can put it on the if you could, then you can put it on the thread tomorrow.
Okay, I would definitely do that.
And we can do that.
I would definitely do that.
Yeah, but listen, I'm about to watch this strong, intelligent, articulate, well-versed Black woman beat up on the least qualified candidate in the history of American politics. When I tell you, I am here for it. I am here for all of the proverbial smoke. But I think when we're talking about getting out the vote, I think the first part is arming ourselves with information, right? The other side of that is not only information so we know what we're voting for, knowing what's going on both ends so we can be informed at the polls. But what that also does is it helps us to hold folk accountable. Now, I'm clear about who I'm voting for. And if you ask me, I promise you I'll tell you, right? Because I'm not in the pulpit. I know very clear who I'm voting for. I know who I'm voting. If I couldn't walk, I'm wheeling myself to the poll. I know who I'm voting for, right?
And if I can add to that, this is, you know me. I have not been one who want to early vote. I've never been that person. I'm going to vote on the day.
Sure.
October 6th, I'm up there in Delaware County casting my ballot.
Listen, I am casting my vote, but I want to be clear. Part of the rhetoric, because and here's where I say the controversial thing on News in Motion, the nation state, for all of the racist structures it has in place, the nation state is more sexist than it is racist. We should be very clear that the social order is white man, white woman, black man, black woman. And as a result, the rhetoric against Vice President Harris is very real. No doubt someone watching this right now has seen a disrespectful picture of Vice President Harris, or has seen a sticker that refers to her in a negative and disparaging way, right?
Did you see the one, not to cut you off, and I don't want you to lose your thought, but did you see the one from Elon Musk yesterday?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's AI. I'm like, you are abusing your own rules that you have set for your platform, which is X, formerly known as Twitter. So the question is, so did you pay $4 billion, which wasn't all your money, to be able to do this and manipulate the election? And my other question is he a citizen of the United States, and is he registered to vote? And should he have that kind of power? He was just kicked out of, Brazil? The platform was kicked out of Brazil. So even with that, and you're talking about those images, that image disturbed me.
Yeah. And the opportunity that we have, and this is why information is so important, because it gives us a clear view of not only who they are, right, but what they're on, right? It gives us a clear perspective. Listen, we should just trust that enemies are enemies. We should just trust, right, that snakes are snakes. We should just trust that the thing about writing something out is that you see it before you post it.
Exactly. And yes, David, we can do that. Let's make an event out of that, David. Going up to Delaware County, we should not go alone anyway. But go ahead, Derrick.
So part of the way, that's hilarious. Part of the way that we get the vote out is that we arm ourselves with information. One of the other ways that we get the vote out is that we create space to hold accountable, and we beat back the rhetoric that says we're voting a certain way because of representation. That's racist discourse that's at the base of that, right? That says that I'm only voting because somebody looks like me. No, Black people are intelligent. No, Black people are politically aware. I can't think of a more democratic people than Black people, because when this nation has given us its rear end, we still keep believing that democracy can happen and equity and equality can happen. And part of that is that we have to hold accountable, which means that I know who I'm voting for. I'm also listening to the debate to hear about issues that matter. I want to hear about a platform. And in the DNC, when she was speaking, she made very clear the branding for what it was that she was going to be running on, right? So I'm looking for that. And so part of how we get the vote out is, one, we make sure that we're informing ourselves with information. Two, we create space where we're holding accountable. You don't have to be in love with Vice President Harris. You don't have to be in love with 45. You don't have to be in love with, right? But the conversations that I want to have, I can't have if one person is in office as opposed to the other.
Exactly.
That's a fact.
And I think, and you raised something, and I know some of you got to go. Y'all can check out the replay later, but we ain't stopping yet. But one thing you raised is so true, and I've had people say to me, just recently, if you're voting for Kamala, and they say it wrong, Kamala Harris, is that because she's a woman and because she's Black? I said, that's the most ignorant thing I ever heard. Now, she happens to be a woman, and she happens to be Black, Asian, but she happens to be a former prosecutor. She happens to be educated, and I happen to like the policies that her platform is built on. So yes, that's why I choose her over this 34 felon, over this liar. And we want to talk Bible. Let's go to Bible too. It talks about liars in the Bible. It's like, come on. And then this person who has been convicted of sexual assault. It's like, seriously.
Yeah.
What you want to do? Marry 3 times. Slept with one while married with the other, and all that stuff. That's why. But we also need to talk policies, which you're sharing here now.
Yeah, I think we have to be able to elevate the conversation in certain types of ways. And when we're talking about getting the vote out, what we also have to be clear, to your point, is at the end of the day, it's who is the best candidate. It's not perfect. You're not voting for your pastor. You're voting for who's the best candidate for that. And if I have to pick between a person who's already in the White House, who has a track record around reproductive rights, has a track record around reproductive rights, has a track record around voting rights, has a track record around foreign policy, and someone else with 34 open cases and a felony. In fact, by the way, just as a complete side note, I don't know that many people who look like me who could have 34 felonies and then still be outside to run for the highest office of the land. I wonder why somebody with 34 felonies, right, who's been convicted of 34 felonies can still be on this side of the bars and still run for the highest office in the United States. I wonder why that could happen. And I wonder if I had 34 felonies right now, whether or not I would be talking to you from my office as opposed to behind some glass. Neither here nor there. So listen.
Wait, either behind some bars or dead.
Or dead, right? Or dead. So I just think that we have to make sure that we're armed with information. We have to be willing to dispel the rhetoric that says that we're a captured electorate, which means that we're holding a person accountable. I do think we have to switch our pitch. We need to create the right type of urgency in getting the vote out. When we talk to other people about getting the vote out, it's about what's at stake. If you do not vote, then we politically move back to the 1950s, 1940s. If you
I'm gonna say 30s or 40s.
30s or 40s, right? If you do not vote, then the truth is more public schooling will begin to close, which directly impacts the Black community. If you do not vote, right, latchkey programs go away, Head Start programs go away. That directly impacts the Black community. If you do not vote, that means that unqualified folk can have positions of power. I'll give you an example because you were talking about the flu. Part of that Project 2025, it says that they want to get rid of doctors who believe that climate change is real and that COVID is real and that vaccinations are important. And it gives the president power to take somebody out and put somebody else that they want in who'll say what they want to say. So let's say that you're a doctor who went to school and has degrees and can use science to back what's in the best interest of the Department of Health. Under Project 2025, the president can take that person out and put Reggie Jenkins in because Reggie Jenkins can say whatever it is I want him to say. That's to the detriment of a nation, and that's what's at stake. So when we're talking about getting out the vote, we have to make sure that not only armed with information, not only that we're choosing to hold people accountable, we beat back the racism that says that we're too ignorant to think for ourselves, and that we also have to be talking about what's at stake. We have to be able to tell that generation beneath us, this is what's at stake. If you don't vote, then this is what we end up with, and nobody wins.
Yeah, and since you were on there, I wanted to give y'all that page reference. That's 449 of Project 2025. Listen, and that's what I want people, and I was saying that to someone the other day. I was like, give the page numbers so that people can go there and read it with their own eyes and do their own research. But what he just talked about with the health and the vaccines and who they're going to get rid of, page 449. Okay, so let me ask these questions. We're laughing about it, y'all, but this is real. This is real. And I like what Marion is, I don't like it, but it's true too. But what Marion is saying, trying to replace democracy with dictatorship.
Absolutely.
So I want to go over this because there's 5 best practices. And I know some of you got to go. Y'all know the rules. Y'all can go. 5 get out to vote best practices. And that's talking about recruiting volunteers early, defining your area that you're going to target, have that outreach strategy, which is what you're talking about, conduct multi-channel efforts. So that's canvassing, phone banking, email, social media, text messaging, and direct mail, and then partnering with people. And I love that last one there because we're partnering now. Y'all, I think it would be great. And I'm just going to tell y'all, partner with Union Grove Baptist Church and Reverend Derrick Holmes for the debate. Don't wait until we talk about it later. Go ahead and engage in it right then while your questions are fresh. Partnering, when we're talking about the national voter registration that's coming up on September the 17th, is about partnering. I talked about we're partnering with Kennedy Cakes. We're partnering with Junto. We're partnering with Yellow Brick Pizza. We're partnering with different people trying to get these things out here. But if you can't do any of those, email, social media, phone bank, complete postcards, do whatever you can to get out there. So let me ask you this, because I think we need to have our pitch correct. And that's what you're speaking of. How do we develop all of that so that we can be in sync and we're not like fumbling around or giving misinformation? Not that we're doing it intentionally, but we're wanting to make sure we're getting information out there. And y'all, I'm going to say this, talking about misinformation, disinformation, people are learning quickly that AI is not cut out to be what they say it was going to be. They're not even thinking it's going to be taking people's jobs anymore. They need the people to work the AI. So we're starting to see an unfolding with that. So be careful with grabbing your information by going into Chat GPT and say, what is this? Don't do that. Fact check it. So speak to that, please, Reverend Holmes.
So I think part of the way that we navigate that in terms of aligning our message, one is making sure that we're in right alignment. It's doing what we're doing right now. We're in conversation. It's doing what we're doing right now on the thread where we're able to share and kind of build out. We want to make sure that we're not just aligning for the sake of alignment, but that we're value aligned, right? I'll give you an example of what I'm saying. We've made a commitment at Union Grove that I want to be able to say unequivocally that we have 100% voter turnout in this election. Every person, every member of our church that can vote. And by the way, if you're on this side, again, if you're on this side of the bars in this country, you can vote. So we want to make sure that everybody, no matter what, is going to vote. And I don't know what anybody else is doing, right? I just know that for us, we want to make sure that we have 100% voter turnout in the 2024 general election.
Let me know how I can support you in that too, because we would love to come alongside of you to do that.
Wait, and look, and I knew you were going to say that, and that's why I brought it up. Because when you go ahead and come alongside of that, we're value aligned. That helps us build power. I'm probably not going to partner with a church that espouses rhetoric from the religious right. It's not to disparage them. God bless and keep you, right? It's not that. But the truth is we're not value aligned. And so part of the way that we start thinking about our partnerships and our coalitions is to be strategic. And I think the other side of that too is that not only should we be strategic, but we should also do what we've always done, right? The conversations we have right now are happening in barbershops every week. They're happening in beauty salons every week. We are a village people. We're a community people. And so I don't think we have to reinvent that wheel, right? We just have to make sure that we're having the conversations that we normally have and that we ask the questions that we normally ask. And we have the courage to address the things that sometimes come out of that. I've had to have conversations with people I love about how I love you as a person and I love you as a believer, but you can't talk about a Black woman in that way as she's running for office.
Taking a stand.
Because part of that, we have to undo some of that because again, some of this stuff we get honest, right? There are a lot of people who, who look like me, look like you, look like us, but they have certain sexist tropes that have been played out on a regular basis and they have to wrestle with that going to the polls. I think we have to be able to have those conversations in our safe spaces, right? And
I
then
agree with that.
Come down on the side of what is right. And I think when we do that, that's the best way we mobilize and kind of do it in collaboration.
Yeah, I love that. I was sharing yesterday, like to just go ahead and make announcements where you are, whatever that is, to let people know. Just ask the question, are you registered to vote? And not tell them how to vote, but just your voice is important. Are you registered to vote? And I was at my nephew's and his girlfriend's baby shower. And my sister-in-law said, hey, please make that announcement. I did. And the young people who pulled out their phones and started registering. And I was sharing with the viewers yesterday when I was walking to my car, a young man said, hey, Miss Gail, can I ask you a question? I said, yes. He said, I was too embarrassed to ask you in front of my friends. When I opened up the app, I got confused. I didn't know what to do because, he's there to watch reels and to play games or text or whatever. So I sat there and walked through with him, and he did get registered. But it reminded me, even as we're going into voter registration, National Voter Registration Day, that there's people, you can't just say, hey, just go here and click and do it. That may intimidate them. And I realized quickly that young man was intimidated by, I got to give him a social security number. I need to give him my ID reference or whatever. That was very intimidating for that young man.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because something happened to him in the past, if he thought he had I have no idea. But I think we also need to educate and let people know this is not a scary experience. This is an empowerment. So how do we best empower people who may be intimidated when they open up the app or they go online and they say, I got to fill out all this, I got to give you all this. How do we direct them? Or someone who may be displaced, maybe they don't have a physical address, or maybe they're going from home to home because they're just out of foster care, but they're 18. Can you speak to any of that?
Yeah, I think we have to be attentive to those aversions, and there are just some realities we have to own. The reality of the prison industrial complex in this country, the reality of medical racism in so many ways, the reality of educational racism, some institutional oppression in this country leaves a lot of people in our community averse to participation with anything with the empire. Everybody on this thread right now knows somebody who will tell you that they're not going to vote, or they don't fool with politics like that because it's all rigged or it's all set up, right? Or there's a system in place that's going to do whatever it wants to do anyway, right? So we have to, when we're talking about empowering people, we have to be able to speak to that in a certain type of way, right? And Kim, look at you cooking with grease, right? For some people, even looking at a ballot can be intimidating. And we have to just be able to own that, right? Because now I don't have to be insecure in listening to you trying to empower me, right? If you start by saying, listen, I know that stuff has been crazy. Listen, I know that you might have gone out to vote and then 45 happened. Look, I know that you may have voted for President Obama and then you lost your home. And as a result, right, that there may be some aversion to that, right? You don't have to be scared. The truth is that when we vote, when we show up, we actually win. And then the work we do afterward, which is really what I'm connected to, right, is what brings about the change. So you put the person in place, you give somebody a strategy, you put the person in place, and now you hold the person accountable to what they do, right? And that's the thing that helps somebody when they're able to say, I don't have to be afraid of this. I don't have to be intimidated by this. I can actually participate in this way. My voice can be heard. And you give them other opportunities to do it too. If voting is the only thing we do in an American democracy, we are failing as a people.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because change never comes from the top down. And we have to debunk that thinking. Change never comes from the top down. It always happens from the bottom up. It always happens when we as a people feel a way, and then we organize and we strategize and we build and we demonstrate and we agitate and we motivate, and then something puts pressure here and then it makes its way to us. Change never. So we should tell people very clearly that voting for Kamala Harris to be the next president of the United States doesn't automatically instantly wave a magic wand and make everything okay.
Exactly.
But we want to put a person in place so that way we can have the conversations we need to have and put the things in place that we need so that way we can change for ourselves. And when you tell somebody that, now you're just keeping it real with me. I can get behind that. But when we give somebody magic wand politics, then that never benefits us. That's always to the harm of our people.
You're so right. And for those of you who are intimidated by a ballot, and thank you, Kim, for raising that, you can go to ballotpedia.org. Again, that's ballotpedia.org, and print out a sample ballot. And there's nothing that says you can't take that in the place with you. You just can't be on your cell phone talking to people or scrolling. You can't do that. but you can print out that sample ballot and take that sample ballot with you. Reverend Holmes, you've always come and bring us great information. And y'all, he's going to, of course, give us the inspirational message. So I don't want you to go anywhere. But before he does that, there's a lot that we heard here today. So please join us tomorrow when we will have Davia Williams Stevenson with us, professional clinical counselor, life coach, podcaster, and author. She's going to be talking about protecting our mental health during this election cycle, protecting our mental health. Let me see what else is out here before I go. Deborah Johnson says, I love that. We have owned the fact that we can be intimidating, but we have to encourage people to do what it takes to vote. Kim Edmondson saying, yes, yes, yes. Marion Jackson, you got to put it up there. Come on now. Dr. Antoinette said, great information. Y'all, we're going to keep talking about this. I told y'all, the first of the year, come this time, September through November, I'm going to get on your last nerves. But we're going to make sure we're bringing you content after content after content. So even if you have questions, start thinking of those so we can put them up there. Next Thursday, we're going to have a town hall meeting. Next Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm missing in action. So please make sure you join Reverend Derrick Holmes in Union Grove for their debate night on this Tuesday, right? Next Tuesday, and we'll make sure you have all the information you need there. With that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Reverend Holmes. Take us out of here. And again, I cannot thank you enough for joining us and doing what you do. I appreciate you greatly.
I appreciate you. And so again, it's always a blessing. I think the world of News in Motion, I think this gets a lot of stuff right, and just a real privilege to share. We were sitting there talking about voting and the importance of getting the vote out. And the truth is that we've had these conversations before. Here we are again at another election, another moment that's pivotal. The truth is there is no such thing as an unimportant election, and there's really no such thing as an unimportant election in the Black community. And while we're having these conversations about getting out the vote and making sure you're involved and making sure you're participating, the truth is, while we're in the longest election season in the history of American politics, it can be draining, right? It can be frustrating, it can be irritating and aggravating and agitating. You'll start to see the commercials where this person talks bad about this person, or this person puts this person's business out, and it can just be a full-on mess, and it can really disengage you in certain types of ways. And I was thinking about that. And I also thought about the very real fact that there may be someone who's watching this right now who may not have made it to Bible study. And if you haven't made it to Bible study, I want to give you something to think about. It's in the New Testament book of James in the 4th chapter. It's just the 17th verse. That book of James is actually the oldest book in the New Testament. In that 4th chapter and the 17th verse, here's what it says. It says, "To him that knoweth to do good and do nothing, to him it is sin." The person who writes this is James. It's actually the brother of Jesus. He's the pastor of the church in Jerusalem, and he's teaching Judeo-Christians how to live like Jesus. And what he's really saying is that it's not enough for you to sit in your church. It's not enough for you to sit in your safe space. It's not enough for you just to stay at home. But in order to do what gives God the most glory, you have to know what's right and then do what's right. And I can't think of a better message as we get ready to mobilize yet again into this election season. The truth is that at the end of the day, we are picking what is right, what is best for the nation, what is best for our people, what is best for our community, what is best for our agenda. And it's not enough for us to know what's right. It is not enough for us to sit in our churches. It is not enough for us to sit in our homes. It's not enough for us to sit in our safe spaces. But if James is right, if the Bible is right, if the Lord is right, that what it says is it's not enough for us to know what's right, but we, beloved, have to go out and do what is right. We are choosing between a host of candidates from the red and the blue and the green and the independent party list. There are all types of people to vote for. We should be praying and be thinking about what is right, and then not just know what's right, but actually go out and do what is right. Go ahead and vote for what's right. Don't vote for a party. Vote for what's right. Don't vote for popularity. Vote for what's right. Don't vote because they rep your sorority. Vote for what's right. Don't vote because she cute. Vote for what's right. Don't vote because someone else told you to vote for him. Vote for what's right. We should be going to the polls with power as believers in something bigger than us and higher than us. And by the way, something that keeps us every single day and has been keeping us this entire time. It is extremely important that we don't just know what's right, but that we go out and do what's right. So when election season comes and when it is our time, I am encouraging you, I am imploring you to not just know what's right, but to do what is right. And when we do what is right, here's the shout: when we do what is right, God gets the glory out of it and God blesses us immensely. So my brother, my sister, my people, go out and do what's right. Vote what gives God the most glory, and then watch what God does with our land. I pray that made some sense. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.
News in motion.